The major thing I had to do today was the second in class writing assignment. And it was. I made sure to prepare by listening to an audio LibriVox recording of Common Sense by Thomas Paine. I'm not sure if these plastic utensils are strong enough for Italian lemon ice, but I'm just glad they had the ice cream section available today. I had dinner. While listening to the LibriVox recording on YouTube, I somewhat diligently followed along a text version of the book that was again available on a third-party website. I'm currently waiting for an order of 4 more Rockstar Punch energy drinks to be picked up. Again, it's currently the only Rockstar energy drinks that are available. Right now, I'm almost done with the latest VHL Central assignment. This one in particular was actually pretty interesting because it featured a flash cultural video on the healthcare system in Argentina. And based on what I've heard, it seems that most countries have a better healthcare system than my country, the United States. I mean, it seems that the United States is the only country where the healthcare system is entirely run by private entities. It seems to me that the healthcare system would be better if there was a public system for it. Similar to the National Health Service in the UK. I did some brief research, and according to Wikipedia, at least 95% of the Chinese population had at least basic health care. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I'm pretty sure 95% is better than the United States currently, after repeated attacks to the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare. Right before the in-class writing assignment, which was extended to the whole class period due to people sharing concerns about running out of time, which admittedly, I probably also should have shared that concern. Because even with the whole class time, I ended up taking the whole class time plus an extra 5 minutes for a total of 55 minutes. And even then, I didn't dwell on what was, in my opinion, a satisfactory amount of the reasons Paine gave against a monarchical system of government, which is pretty much what England has even today. Well, not really today. The current queen is, as I've been told, is currently a figurehead. But back in Thomas Paine's time, it was much more like a real monarchy, with the monarch essentially having a final say on many different aspects within England. The question asked me to write about the original purpose of government, along with describing how that original purpose was carried out, and then whether or not that original purpose and the functions in reaching that purpose can be maintained. And I said no, because history shows the way I describe the original function of government is basically the informal government that existed back in the hunter-gatherer days, which is actually most of human history. But as human populations increased, the informal system of having every member of the tribe meet together, that system sort of deteriorated, because as there's more people, longer meeting times are required, thus making the meetings more inconvenient. And with the same amount of time, or even more time, each individual person within the meeting gets less time to speak. This is essentially what I said in regards to the first part. And we know today that England chose a monarchy and was still a monarchy in the time of Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine's arguments against a monarchy were that the selection of the ruler within a monarchy is based not on merit, but on an arbitrary birthright. And with that arbitrary system, it's more than possible to get someone who's incompetent and disrespectful of the natural rights given to humankind by virtue of their birth as animals on Earth, according to John Locke. Only I didn't mention John Locke because for the in-class writing assignment I was supposed to make reference to Common Sense by Thomas Paine. And while I was working on the in-class writing assignment, a storm developed. I got rained on pretty good. And my arms and hands got pretty cold because due to the cold weather combined with the relatively high winds that triggered a wind advisory. All that combined to make my arms and hands feel pretty cold. It wasn't bad enough that I felt like I had to get into a building to protect my arms and hands, but I got pretty close to it. Well, I'm glad to hear that I researched that technology. I've actually gotten enough upgrades that I have to worry about culture again. So I'm hoping to spend my diamonds on unique cultural buildings. It's been well known that the Audium Zodiac event ended a pretty long time ago. I got a pretty big lunch because I was pretty hungry at the time. I got a double cheeseburger, some wild rice, fried shrimp, and fried chicken with, I believe, sausage gravy. Although I ended up eating the fried chicken last, and I ended up kind of regretting it, but it was still good. In regards to current events regarding Game of Thrones, I've responded to recent attacks against me by trying to raise a relatively great big army of Tier 3 troops and making some rapid development using my relatively huge collection of time skips and resource items. From 2:30 p.m. to about 3:20 p.m., I participated for the first time in the virtual office hour in order to make up for completely blanking on the, although it wasn't mandatory, but still, it wasn't exactly good that I missed the online lecture section on Monday in regards to my political geography class. The professor did a good job going over this week's slides regarding the politics behind cities, in regards to how more and more of the human population is being concentrated, within cities, and the gentrification of cities. I also made sure to do some discussing of my own during the lecture the professor gave. Because it's always good to participate as much as you can. I believe after the virtual office hour, which I ended by asking questions regarding the upcoming midterm, the professor told me that it's a straightforward midterm with, I believe I was told, 15 short answer questions. That's based off of my memory. Today was also the day I did more work on the 99th Dan Hamming, which culminated today in the first draft in a while on Camtasia. I in particular made the latest Camtasia draft because right now my current problem is having to basically make a sort of custom facial animations using props that I'm going to create on Lunapic and manipulating their rotation, position, and size changes in order to create the illusion of animated facial expressions or something close to that. In regards to working on this styrofoam, I'm going to have to pick up these Sharpie markers to go and work on that. So it's a bit of a good opportunity to pick up a bit around here. The only thing I really have to do in regards to the VHL Central assignment, pretty much just a strategy component. And these are historically have been the worst ones for me because they tend to be open-ended and that the professor has to review it in order to give you credit. Basically, it's subjective instead of objective like it usually is. As such, you can't find a Quizlet of it to check your answers. Now, most of the time, or at least more often than not, you don't have to worry about that because for many VHL Central components, you have unlimited attempts. But in some, you only have one attempt for it. And when there's only one attempt, it makes me pretty nervous. Because that means, rather than it being graded on effort, it's graded on accuracy, essentially. Which brings back, right now, memories of Castle Learning. Though I also enjoyed that program, that online program, back in my middle school and high school science classes. I think I took just about every science class I could back in high school. Geography, physics, chemistry, and biology. The thing with these VHL Central assignments, it's in your best interest to sincerely do each of the components to the best of your ability before checking your answers on a Quizlet component. For one thing, there's always the risk of it being inaccurate, which is why I prefer to find a Quizlet that has a perfect or near perfect rating if a perfect rating can't be found, preferably with more reviews rather than less, because that's a sign of it being valid. I don't recall there being anything against going on Quizlet. But I do know that it is important to first sincerely try to do the components before you check the answers on Quizlet. I pretty much always manage to find a Quizlet of a component by highlighting some text and then searching it on Bing. I think pretty much the only time I've really failed is, again, on the open-ended strategy components. Although, thankfully, by the time I got my lunch, which included me balancing both 2% milk and chocolate milk on top, it wasn't raining anymore, so I didn't really have to worry about my lunch getting soaked, which was definitely a good thing because my lunch was definitely jam-packed. I got a smaller dinner because I wasn't really hungry for dinner.